Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. How are you? Today I'm going to Oh my god, hi. Today I'm going to talk about using your intuition. Thank you for the likes. Using your intuition when it comes to your job search, right? Or like using your like quitting, do you need to quit your job? Like I know so many of you are in that space. So many people who follow me are in that space where they're like, do I quit my job? Do I take this one or that one? Do I wait? What is the right timing? And there's this little hack. There's this little tool that I use. It's a meditation, right? Because that's how we develop our clairs, right? If you don't know me, I'm Katie, and I'm the career witch, right? I use mindset, psychology, and witchcraft, as well as like proven business strategy, right? Because that's what careers are. That's what jobs are, is their businesses, right? And a lot of people don't use their business mindset when applying for jobs, which is insane to me. A lot of people come into the job search with an employee mindset, right? And I think you really should come in with an employee mindset because you are an employee. However, understanding the other side, understanding the business strategy that they're doing is going to help you win, right? You're gonna get yours, right? Because employees and bosses are inherently at odds, which is why you got to get your secret weapon, which is your intuition. That is going to be your secret weapon. That is something that your boss, the hiring manager, does not have, right? So who here has ever been in a situation where they're like, I don't know if I should quit. Like, what's the best time? Like, I want to quit, but what's the best timing? Or, oh, my dog's getting in a fight with another dog. Okay, we're good. Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, is now a good, like, I know I want to quit my job, but what's the right timing? What's the timing? Because that's what intuition is trying to speak to you, is in timing. And your intuition speaks to you through choices. So the best thing that you can do is to get yourself in question asking mode and get yourself in like binary thinking mode, like this one or this one, rather than like, what the fuck do I do? Like, what do I do? Thinking in binary. Is it this job or this job? Is it quit or stay? Is it 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, right? So if you're ever in a situation where you're like, I know I need to quit my job, but I don't know, like you've decided I'm going to quit my job because I don't love my job. Should it be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? And there's a hack that you can use. I call it a hack, but in reality, I mean, it's like using your intuition. And that's anything but a hack, right? Like that's a divine connection. we can't can't cheat the results by calling them hacks. So who here has ever been in a situation where you're like, I want to quit my job, but I just don't know when, or or like even too afraid to, want to quit your job, or you're stuck between two options. You're like, do I take this job or this job? Do I stay with my current job that I don't enjoy? Thank you. Um, do I stay with the current job that I don't enjoy, or do I like go and find something else? Like, have you ever been in a situation where you're like this or that? Yes. Okay. If you want, whoever's listening, like please give me like the option where you're like, okay, like tell me an option. What's an example of an option that you've been under where you've like this or this? Do I want to quit? Should it be today? Should it be in 3 months? Should it be when I've saved up $10,000? Should it be? I was in the situation with my corporate job where I was like, a lot of the time was spent thinking, do I like this? Because when I applied for it, I wanted it. Thank you for the likes. I wanted the job, right? When I applied for it. When I received it, I liked it. I was like, I like this. I'm happy here. I enjoy this job. And then they started changing things. And in the workforce when they change things and they change them so quickly that you don't really have time to they don't ask your permission, right? That you don't have time to check in with yourself. They don't ask you your permission, right? They just change stuff. And suddenly you're moving on with these new changes without having had the time to really sit and think and feel it, right? Like, do I like this? Does this work well? Does this new workflow work for me? So a great example was I liked my corporate job. I was a content writer for a tech company, right? All the benefits, free food, like shiny gym. And I was asking myself, like, do I like this? Do I like these changes? Because at first everything was great, but then they switched it to be Oh, what did they switch it to? They switched my team, and then they switched the workflow. So suddenly we had to produce twice the amount of work with 3/4 of the time. So the things changed, right? The conditions of my employment changed. And I had an option where I had to ask myself, do I like this? Is this still in alignment with my decision? Because when you sign on to something, you're signing on to a job, same with relationships or, life. You sign on to a job with the current expectation. Like, I expect that the conditions will be this, I expect the pay will be this, and then they enroll you, they hire you, they onboard you, and then they switch up on you, right? They move departments, they change your role, and then your job as the spiritual conscious being in a human world, working in the matrix, trying to pay your bills, right? Trying to get by. You have to ask yourself, is this in alignment with my side of the agreement, right? Are they keeping up? Is this what I even wanted the job for, right? Like, yeah, the money's going to keep flowing. Like, they're going to keep paying you. It's a job. But what about the other things other than money? Do you still get to sit with your friends? Do you still get the same benefits? Is it the same thing that you signed in for? Does that make sense? So the hack that I use for my intuition is, first you have to dedicate yourself some time to even check in with yourself. Life happens so fast. You guys, you're never going to just magically have time to meditate. Almost never, unless the universe like guides you to a quiet rock where there's nothing around you. That has happened to me before, actually. The universe is like, this way, my intuition is like guiding me this way and that way. And I land in like this really quiet spot where no one's bothering me for another 3 hours. Oh my God, I gotta let my dog in. Y'all can come with me. Okay. So, but lately, the way that things have been with like business, clients, I have a toddler. He's about to be 2 years old. I have a dog. I have two dogs. Own a house. Like we have cars that need oil changes. Like just all that shit. And I realize that there's never going to be a time where I have time to meditate. I have time to check in with myself, which is why I'm so adamant that we all need to be doing this. Like, this is your responsibility as a spiritual being, is to make time to ask yourself, am I in alignment right now? Like multiple times a day. Is this still a yes for me? Is this job still a yes for me? And the way that I do it is, excuse me, I see things as choices. Everything I see is a choice. So when you're what you're doing right now, you're actively choosing it. So that's great. You're actively choosing what you're currently doing. You're actively choosing to listen to me right now. You're actively choosing to be where you are right now. We always have a choice. We can always cut our bangs and get on a Greyhound bus and change our lives. That's something maybe it's the Sagittarius rising in me, but I love to remind myself that I could run away at any time. I also am a Sagittarius sun and a Sagittarius stellium and North Node and Venus and Mercury. So I like to remind myself, Katie, you always have the choice. You can always cut your bangs and get on a Greyhound bus and never be seen again. I don't want to do that. Okay, great. We're going to actively be right here. You could at any point quit your job and go start handing out resumes on the sidewalk. Like, you could do that, but you're choosing not to, right? So take that power back and be in your power and say, okay, I'm choosing this. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of get quiet and I'll ask my intuition to show me two paths. Let's say one is stay and one is quit. Let's keep it simple because it can get really complicated, right? I know that life is complicated and I know that there's so many choices. Um, let's keep it simple. So I asked my intuition, show me the path of stay at my current job. And you'll be surprised what comes up when you're quiet and you listen and you trust and checking your own biases at the door, right? Like, if you're biased and your own fear center is like lighting up and being like, well, if I stay, I'm gonna like get beat up by my boss, or I'm gonna get fired, or like all these horrible things are popping up in your brain, but that might not be the truth, right? You might be just around the corner from a promotion. Or if you stay, you might be having a huge opportunity cost from this other place that wants to hire you. And that, in my experience, has been most of it. Staying somewhere and being a fence sitter where it's painful is often a huge opportunity cost, because there's always someone out there who's going to appreciate you. Who's like, there's always another business that has their shit together more. That's by and large been my experience. So ask yourself, see two, like visualize two paths, two doors. Ask your intuition, can you show me the path of staying? Yeah, like already I see I'm starting to collect, I'm starting to pick up like collective energy, like what your thank you for the likes. I'm starting to pick up like y'all's y'all's energy when I say that, because that's how it works. When I say show me the path of stay. Okay. So staying often implies more of the same unless your actions change. So is staying at your current job going to inspire you and help you feel safe? Thank you for the likes. Is staying at your current job going to inspire you to make some internal changes? Good morning. Is being around the same people, being in the same environment going to help ground you to make different changes? Are you like, do you feel more confident asking your current advisor, your current supervisor, your current coworkers for help, for a raise, for change if you're unhappy? Like visualize that and see what is coming up when you ask your intuition, show me staying. That's amazing. Every time I want to leave my job or replace it, I walk into work and get recognition. See, okay, so energetically, what's going on there? It's like the rubber band effect. When we're chasing and pursuing, we are like pushing away, and I hate it. Yeah. Okay, so there's like the basic like rubber band effect, right? It's like when we're chasing and pursuing and trying to be approved and liked, we're actually repelling. When we're in that energy of detachment and like I don't care, that's when people recognize that you're not trying as hard anymore and they try to get you back. What that can do is perpetuate the energy, and I'm only saying this Gucci forever because you said you hate it. What that can perpetuate is more fence sitting energy, because you know and expect that when you walk in with complete detachment, when you walk in with complete detachment, right? My dog is barking again. These guys are so annoying. I'm sorry. I love my dogs, but they have a doggy door. Okay, I'm gonna answer your question. Okay. What that typically means is that the universe is waiting for you to do something different, because you're think of it like a temperature, right? Like a thermometer. When you're behaving in a certain way, like you're putting in effort, right? Things things are normal. When you stop caring, everyone else starts to kick in, like the heat of the temperature starts to kick in to get you back to your set point, to get you back to your baseline. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is the universe is waiting for you to do something different. Like something different needs, like some tangible action needs to shift from the energy of detachment. What action would you do if you were truly completely detached? Like you said, I believe me, I need my job. And believe me, I need my job and I care. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. It's kind of complicated. It's kind of, it's not that complicated, but it's like, do you hate that your job, do you hate that your job only recognizes you when you want to leave? Yeah. Using this to swing me to something better. I would say that like it can be in your current job or it can be in a different job. So the other path that you would ask your intuition is show me what it looks like to leave. Show me that path. And let whatever intuitively comes up for you come up. Because oftentimes, show, like see what it feels like. I think the best way to get yourself to do something is to visualize yourself doing it and realizing that it might not be, that's delusion for some people. um Hang on, what was I saying? Yeah. So if you want to leave your job, the best thing that like the biggest piece of advice that I would give people is visualize yourself leaving. Oh, no, don't be sorry. It's okay. Visualize yourself leaving. And then whichever path feels lighter, because for me, oftentimes Every time I've quit a job, of course the fears come up of, what if I don't get another job? What if I starve to death? What if I blah, blah, blah? What if I'm never hired again? What if my career is destroyed? Yeah. Everything that you, Kelsey and Mama's Not Martha, I just lost my job. Yeah. I have been in both of those situations with, as you guys, within the past year twice. I walked out of my dream job just this past November. Um, and I use that as an opportunity to do what I've always wanted to do, which is what I'm doing right now, which is coaching women to get better jobs, helping them see the blind spots that they haven't seen, helping them attract their dream jobs faster. Sorry, I got a bunch of notifications. Because I have always, I just don't know what I want to do or where I want to work. Mm. Thanks for saying that. Yeah. So just this last year, I worked in corporate. This time a year ago, I worked in corporate. This time a year ago, I was sitting at my cubicle with roses on my desk that my husband bought me. Not ocean views. There's a river here locally. Now you're asking the big questions. Yeah. And I started to realize this time a year ago, oh my God, actually, yesterday was the anniversary of like an entire team in my office getting laid off. I just realized, oh my God, it was the anniversary. It was on Valentine's Day. This time a year ago, I liked my job. I was like, this is great. Like, it's kind of boring. It's kind of depressing. I miss being at home with my baby. I like going outside. Like, but it was like, I was getting paid very well. I love when the universe says, like, hey, you got to go live. My intuition will be like, you got to go live right now. Thanks for saying this. So this time a year ago, okay, I liked my job, but I was getting paid well. My new job sold false advertisement. My new job sold false advertisement. I think I know what you mean because um I actually just got okay. My story is kind of crazy, you guys. So I worked a corporate job getting paid double what anybody would pay me anywhere else. Like my salary was really high for my education and experience level. Yeah, sometimes the algorithm knows. If you're tapped into the frequency, like the algorithm will show you what you are like interacting with already. But if you weren't in the frequency, you'd probably be on like some random video that's not actually helping you. So, corporate job, kind of boring, but like paid really well. Like one thing that people kept saying, like the whispers in the around the water cooler, where people are saying like, "This is it. There are no other jobs in the city. This is the only job that I'm qualified for without going back to school." And that was like kind of true. Loving the flow of the chat today. Wow. Hey. So I worked this corporate job. I was a writer, right? Like I was a content writer. Like, isn't that like I see people on TikTok all the time being like, I would love to work as like a content writer. I'd love to work in marketing. Like I want to be a marketing girly. And you guys, I was a marketing girly a year ago. And it was this time a year ago where I was like, this is just kind of boring. Like I kind of hate I kind of hate this, but I'm getting paid really well. So I'm just gonna like shut up. And my intuition kept saying like there's more for you, like there's more for you out there, there's more for you out there. And one thing that it kept saying very loudly was you just have to trust that there's something better. That was like anytime my fear would pop in and it'd be like, but what about the pay and what about the benefits and what about like I work with my best friends, right? Like I loved my supervisor, but my intuition kept saying you just have to trust that there's something better over and over and over again. Like period, point blank, the end. You just have to trust. Thank you. And so this time yesterday, a year ago, Valentine's Day, the higher up lizard brain, I'm sorry, but like corporate lady, pencil skirt, I don't want to settle less for out of fear, because when you make decisions out of fear, in the energy of fear, it perpetuates more fear. Ask me how I know that one, because that has been like my entire career. But the jobs that I've had where people are like, how did you get this job? Have all just been good because my intuition has said, you just have to trust that there's something better. Because whenever I'm at a job and I'm like, I like it, it's just not, blank enough for me. Like, it's fine, but I don't get to like work with other people as much as I want. Or I'm like, I hate sitting down all day. Like, I don't like sitting down all day. I like the freedom to kind of get up and walk around. I used to work in an animal hospital and I really liked that. I worked in animal surgery and I like that because I was on my feet all day. And the job I had before that was like I was an intern in an office and it was so boring. But animal surgery was like so much more exciting. And then the way to get out of that one was I was like, I like it. I just need more pay. So it's like whenever my intuition said like, I like it. Let's see if we can get a higher paying job. I listened to that. So corporate lady, pencil skirt, high heels, whole nine lady comes down to our floor where everything is good, right? Like the work is good. We're happy. We're getting along. Like my manager is the manager that hired me is, it's kind of one of those jobs that seemed a little too good to be true, right? Like everything was going great. And higher up lady comes downstairs. We're content writers, right? Like this is important to remember. We're content writers. My seat is literally right next to a view of the river. Like I have everything I could possibly want. Free coffee, free food, benefits. I'm getting paid more than most people with my education level in this city. Corporate lady comes downstairs and she says, "Hey everyone, I'd like to gather you around. Like, please pause your work. Let's gather around and talk." I don't know this lady, but I know that she's corporate. Like she's high up. Like she's like the VP of the company basically. And this is a huge tech company. And she gathers around and she's like, "Hi everyone, I just want you to know that Melissa is gone. Melissa was my boss who hired me. Melissa's gone, and all of the editors have been laid off. You now have to edit your own writing. And we want to make our content more engaging and more exciting. So we need you to call realtors to get quotes. And the CEO said that your writing was not engaging or interesting enough, so you need to double the length of it. It was the word minimum was 300 words, but now it's 1,000 words. You need to call realtors and get quotes, and you need to edit your own work. And by the way, your boss is gone. So good luck." And then she leaves. And we all were like, "Oh my God. Our boss just got fired. All the editors are laid off. The expectations like tripled. Now we have to be on the phone all day calling for quotes." Like this job went from like, doable but kind of boring to like actually impossible. And then that's when my intuition said, you just have to trust that there's something better. You just have to trust, like, you can say no to that. You can say, no, thank you. And a lot of people did, right? A lot of people were like, "I'm looking for another job. I'm not into this. I don't like this." But when your subconscious beliefs still think that you have to listen to that lady in the pantsuit and the high heels who's better than you and that she's in charge of your survival, that's something that the universe really taught me, is that your boss is not in charge of your abundance flow. You are in charge of your abundance flow, right? So I one day said enough is enough and I quit, right? And I did full-time readings for like a few weeks. I've been doing astrology readings, and I've been doing like full-time readings for a few weeks. And then I saw a job opening for my dream job that I've been wanting since I was like in college. It's for a luxury PR agency local here in Richmond. I'm not going to say any names, but because long story short, I don't work there anymore. But the synchronicities here was amazing, because that's the thing about the universe, is that the universe has like desire and timing. So sometimes you just have to trust that you're on the flow of timing, because it's not always right now. And the best way to check if now is the right time, like to check your timing, is to check if you're emotionally charged. So if it feels like you're going to puke, it might not be the right timing. But for me, when I emotionally feel afraid, but my body like when I literally want to get up and start walking, this was what I did on my last day. I walked in on my last day. I had actually just gotten my hair done the day before, so like I looked fabulous. And my supervisor, by the way, they switched my supervisors. My new supervisor sucked and like was a micromanager and just like not cool. I literally felt like I was going to puke this morning. That is like, I would say like that's definitely your body's talking to you, and I think it's time for you to listen, because puke might mean, well, okay, first of all, literally vomiting means that your body is releasing something. Yeah. Okay. Emerald Oracle. Yep. So there's like some work to do here, right? Like there's some like shifts to make. Yep. My last job was so great until it wasn't. I quit with nothing lined up and prayed for a blessing. I have done that so many times. And so the new job about coming to work today. Yeah. I actually just redid the resume for a woman. She hired me to do her resume. I do Reiki infused resumes. So she hired me to do her resume. And she told me that when she was throwing up on her before her way to work, that's when she knew. Like that's when it was like enough is enough. So I saw an opening for a job that I've wanted since college. It was for a luxury PR agency, like super pink, badass feminist vibes. Oh my gosh, why are you nervous? It's already yours. Like it's done, right? It's your dream job. Like you literally said it's your dream job. Like it's done. It's yours. Like that's your job. One thing that I like to embody before going into job interviews is like, that's mine. Like I'm quitting my job in 3 years and starting a little farm. Yay! Like when I see a job interview, I'm like, that's mine. And this is actually, oh gosh, this is actually something that I'm working on that we're gonna do in my beta. So I'm doing a beta group coaching program. I want as many people in this. So I've priced it at the third of the price that I want to price it at because I just want as many people in there as possible, but a limited number of like the kind of people, like only a certain number of moms, only a certain number of corporate people, only a certain number of like homestead girlies, only a certain number of like DIYers, only a certain number of like tarot readers. Um, it's called the Empowered Paycheck. 6 weeks to your dream job. Like this is for people who want their dream job yesterday. Like it's the link in my bio. I'm actually like I want as many people as possible in this so that I can give you all the individual attention. I currently got sold a dream. Okay. I currently got sold a dream with this new job and it's a toxic environment. Boy. Okay, so that leads me to my story about getting hired at this luxury PR agency. I've been trying to get a job here since for like 10 years. Not 10 years. Like a little less than that. Like since I was in college. So like let's say like 7 years. I've been trying to get this job. Every time I apply for it, I don't get it. Okay, so then yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, why'd they hire you then? That exactly happened to me at this luxury PR agency I worked for. She told me that she wanted to help like use my marketing background to help the CEO become more of like an influencer and like a money mindset girl, which I am so qualified to do. And we just said that in my interview. And I can't get into the details. Like it just is so triggering for me, but it was a nightmare. Oh, hey, another Virginia girl. Yeah. Why hire me? I can't fix the mess you guys created. Yep. It's like she hired me for like higher thinking problems when the business was still such a mess. Like if your work environment doesn't have SOPs, standards of operational procedure, gone. I'm out of here. Like you guys, if you identify as an employee, right? Like you are an employee, you're looking for a job. I love that y'all are going off in the comments. In the training process, when I ask, everyone is all over the place. Yeah. Okay. So this is your power as an employee, is that you get to be more discerning about who you follow, right? Like if you're an employee, I mean, you kind of have to think of yourself, like loath as I am to say, you have to think of yourself as a follower in a way. Like when you're at work, you're following the leader. Where you thrive is when you pick a good leader, which is why I'm all about asking the right questions in your job interview. Because when you ask good questions in the job interview, you give off, like you put the interviewer under a little bit of heat. Yeah, I've quit several jobs in the last 2 years and I've leveled up every time. Training in corporate America can be awful. Yep. What you don't want to do in a job interview is come from like desperate energy. Even if you are desperate, even if you have like negative bank account balance, you don't want these people to know that, because what they're going to do is, first of all, they're going to lowball you in salary negotiations because they're like, well, she's just going to take the first opportunity that comes. Also, they might take advantage of you and they might split bait and switch you because they think they just need to fill a hole. If you're desperate, you're going to attract a desperate employer. I can't tell you how many times I've applied for a job. I've applied for a job and then I'm like, 30 days in and I'm like, why did the girl before me quit? Where is she? I've literally asked other people with more seniority than me, like, who was the person who worked in my job before and what is she doing? I want to know the real answer to that. So I always ask, like, I always ask, who had this job before me and why did they leave? Because they're going to ask you, like, about gaps in your resume and why did you quit and why were you laid off and blah, 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 blah. You get to ask them the same thing. Every single time you need to ask them something related to where is the last person that was at my job. And you need to ask, like, what is their management style? How will I know if I'm succeeding in this role? Ooh, okay. Because like in that corporate job that I just told you guys that I quit earlier, I put the hiring manager under heat. I asked him about the negative Glassdoor reviews. You have to do this professionally too. Don't act like you're just interrogating them. Like act like it's just Act like you're sold. Like, okay, I'm sold. Like, I'm going to take this job. I just have a couple questions. Like, I just don't want to leave here with like some doubts. So here are my questions. And you really have to act like you're sold. Because if you act like you're not sold, they're just not going to like talk to you. Because who's going to waste their time on somebody who doesn't even seem interested? Because that's like the business owner mindset. This is not something that we always consider as employees, but as business owners, they're not going to pursue somebody who acted like they weren't even that interested anyway. How will I know that I'm succeeding in this role? Yeah, because oftentimes they should. My first job did bait and switch on me too. Yeah, my most recent, my dream job from the influencer. She was like she's not a large influencer because she literally buys her followers, and I know that because I managed her Instagram account. She's an influencer, not a big one, but she literally brags about having a pretty bank account, and that girl is like headed for bankruptcy, like for real. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I collect Himalayan salt lamps. She's a manager now. Oh my god. Okay, hang on. What was I saying? Okay, if you so like managers don't have the time to pursue somebody who doesn't seem interested. So in a job interview, even if you don't want the job, you have to act like you're interested. You're like, okay, I'm sold. Okay, I hear you. I'm following you. I'm only on 4 days and ready to just walk out. Why don't you just walk out? It's 4 days. Like they're gonna find somebody else like instantly, and you're not like as deeply ingrained to like you're not like so deeply rooted in that it's gonna like ruin your life. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, act like you're sold. Okay, I hear you. All right, repeat things that they're saying. Okay, I hear you that the benefits are blah blah blah. I hear you that the expectations are be here at 8 a.m. and stay at your desk till 5. Okay, what happens in the situation of family emergencies? Like act like you're so sold, and you're like, okay, I like that. I like the company culture. I've heard really good things about the company. I just have a question about some of the Glassdoor reviews. Right, the company that I worked for this time a year ago has horrible Glassdoor reviews. They have like a 2.9. Also, the company that I just recently left has even worse Glassdoor reviews. And don't be afraid to bring that up. But you have to act like you're already sold. And this is exactly what we're going through in my Empowered Paycheck program. I want people who want a new job yesterday, right? It's 6 weeks, and we're going through all of these. And you're going to get probably the most attention for the least amount of money ever, because I really want this program to be good because I'm going to turn it into a signature program. They don't even want to train me. Oh my god, that's trial by fire. I literally Googled once, like, what do I do in the situation of trial by fire? Like, I literally Googled, what do I do if I'm in trial by fire? Which is like what that's called. Mm, it's yours. That new job is yours. You ever like go shopping and you see like a beautiful thing you really want? That's how I felt when I saw this. When I saw this deer right here, I saw it at like a flea market. What are you drinking? I'm drinking water. I'm drinking water. Okay, so I'm drinking water, rose water with little roses in it. It's to kind of like guide me back to Aphrodite because I've been off my off Aphrodite game lately. I've been just like trying to get back into my heart, trying to get like out of survival mode, out of like fight or flight, and just rose water is just really helpful. So, job interview, right? When I saw that deer and I instantly felt connected to it for a lot of stories. Like my grandma passed a few years ago and I didn't get to go to her funeral because it was the first day of my new job. Which in retrospect, I should have just said like, "Sorry, my grandma died. I'm going to her funeral." But my grandma's name was Jean, and I saw that deer, and I instantly was like, "Oh my god, that's Jean." And the thought of someone else buying that deer because there was only one, right? It was a flea market. If there's only one, and the thought of like, I just visualized in my head, like I said, intuition is two paths, right? One path is buy the deer. The other path is imagine someone else buying it. And how do you feel? The thought of someone else buying my deer pissed me off. And that's when I knew you need to buy this deer. So that's the same thing I am with jobs. I have a job interview today. It's mine. The thought of someone else getting that job, bleh, no, it's mine. That's how I felt about my last job at the luxury PR agency. I interviewed, right? And during that whole, that's the way it should be with relationships. Yep. If you can imagine, like, there's also something to be said about like healthy detachment, right? But that's how you know when it's time to go and like go after something, right? Is envisioning someone else having it and you're like, no, that's mine. And then go and fight for what's yours. It's yours. Go fight for it, right? I love my dear. I love her so much. Um, oh yeah. So that's something that I was envisioning was when I was interviewing for this job. Yeah, when you feel the conviction is a key point. And there's two pieces to feeling conviction. Number one is like keeping a clear channel, right? Like, are you suppressing your body's impulses or do you feel your intuition? Are you listening to your intuition? Keeping a clear channel. Drink your water, do your walks. Like, hey, good morning, Mo. um, Keeping a clear channel. The other one is taking action on your conviction. So when I was interviewing for this luxury PR agency, during the conversation, it just became more and more abundantly clear that this job was mine. I was like, this job does not belong to anyone else. This job is mine. Right? And literally, I heard her say towards the end of the interview, like she said something along the lines of, well, I have a lot of other candidates to get through, but I want to expedite yours. Can you email me your portfolio? Boom. And like that's kind of what happens when you come from the energy of like it's already mine. That's mine. Not that we live in a world of what's the word? We don't live in a world. We don't live in a scarcity world, but that's like you said, Alexis. It's the conviction. I had an interview at an animal hospital. I had an interview at a animal hospital. I'm so mad if they hire the last candidate. Yeah, that's your job. That's your job. What questions do you guys have? What questions do y'all have? I am running this beta, the Empowered Paycheck. In 6 weeks, we're going to go through the spirituality, the business mindset, and the practical steps. How do you know when the job is right for you? It's a feeling. I think it's like you got to anchor into a feeling. How do you want your job to feel? Is it wrong to see this? Ask to see the space before starting? Nope. I think you should do that. And if they say no, I think the weirdest thing is like you guys have to ask awkward questions and then hold the line. It's like you don't have to be weird. Like read the person, right? Because if you come off as like overly like domineering, like I'm not saying you have to like push people around or whatever. It's nasty and felt off. Yeah, I don't want to work. I think it's like okay to have high standards. I definitely have high standards for the physical environment I work in. And I think that that's how I manifested. The last two office spaces that I worked in were beautiful. And I think I manifested that because I was like, I'm going to be a stickler for the space. Because they see you're human and you're being real. Yeah. So you have to ask an awkward question and then like not back down and be like, just kidding. Why not? Yep. Like don't just be like, just kidding. But if you're like overly aggressive and pushy and you're like, like, oh well that sucks. Or like if you're like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're pushy, do you have strong earth sign placements? You're not going to believe this. I have no earth in my big three. No earth in my big five. Sorry, my Mars is in Capricorn. No earth in my big five. It is all fire and one water and one earth. However, my midheaven is in Libra. I am a high priestess of Aphrodite. I am like very big into Aphrodite worship and very big into her stuff because I was not raised with Aphrodite tendencies. I was raised to be very insecure and very jealous and very isolated and very mean. Like there's a lot of mean girls where I grew up. I keep debating trying to be management for Amazon. I didn't set my boundary. Yeah, I actually know somebody who works in Amazon. I'm not sure when you say management. She's like in the upper floor, so I think she makes like $120,000 a year. Um, how do you know when it's time to search for a new area of work? Can you find what lights you up. Is there something else when you're like scrolling the internet that you're like, ooh, that would be fun? Because I think the most important thing is like to remember that it's in my boundaries. Yeah. Okay. So my friend works for Amazon management. She's burned out. And the thing about boundaries is that we get to learn by living, right? You get to change your mind. And people say like you should stay at a job for 2 years. I think we're learning here. And I think the job market is changing. Chiron. My Chiron is in Virgo in the 11th house. So in the structure of career and finding good career structure has been my Chiron. Yeah, writing. Okay, so it was the same thing for me. I was working at a front desk in healthcare, and I started to love the idea of writing. I used to help a psychiatrist write her notes, and because I was like the personal assistant, like the assistant to a personal. I worked with a psychiatrist, and I would help her write her notes. And when I was writing, I felt free. I loved writing, so I pursued freelance writing, and that is what helped me quit my 9 to 5 job was become a freelance writer. And I actually taught a course about this in 2021, 2020, 2020 on how to do that. So that's something that I have done before is like scale my freelance writing business, teach others how to do it. And so to answer your question, how do you know it's time to find a new realm of work? I think the number one thing is like feeling uninspired and not feeling like your energy is being given to you. It's like the way that I see life is like I'm not going to do something until I have energy for it. Meaning I see like opportunities as like the universe is throwing me a little bit of rope and I'm pulling on it and then that gives me more and then I pull on it. Um yep. MC Libra. MC Libra in the 8th house or 10th. I can't remember. What's the opposite of the 4th? So I know I have my IC in the 4th house. So my MC would be the opposite. I literally have it right here. 11th house. Chiron and Virgo in the 10th house. So the reason why I love social media is because of my midheaven and Libra in the 11th house. Like social media just comes so naturally to me. And sometimes when people say like, "Oh, TikTok's changing their algorithm. Everything's changing. You have to change your content." I'm like, "Not me though. I'm going to keep doing whatever I've been doing." Also the moon's in Taurus, y'all, so I hope you like go get a cheese plate or something. Go do something beautiful for yourself. Drink some rose water. I feel like I missed a question. Writing. I was talking about writing. Yeah. To pivot requires um pivoting requires lack of energy. Like the universe has stopped giving you slack. Like you show up every day to work. The universe has given you a little bit of slack, you pulled it. It's like that's what I think of it. It's like someone's giving you a little bit of slack, you pull it. You keep doing that over and over and over again, right? And then one day the universe just stops giving you slack and you're like, "Oh, hey, TikTok, YouTube and TikTok to promote my crochet. Great idea. Great idea. Great idea, Kat." One day the universe is just going to stop giving you slack. And that's when you have to pay attention. When you no longer have energy for something, I pay attention and I'm like, "Oh, today it feels like it sucks." And what a lot of people do is they start drinking more coffee or they start taking like uppers or they start forcing themselves to do things outside of their own alignment because they're like, "Well, I don't have the energy today. So I got to like up, 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 up. I need to embrace my Chiron and Leo." Oh my God. I have two really close friends who have their, actually, I have three really close friends who have their Chirons and Leo. And I think Chiron and Leo is like leaning into what, like, who do you like when it comes to like storytelling? Like, who's your mentor in storytelling? What YouTube personalities do you really enjoy? And realizing that you guys are not that different. I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. That wasn't very ladylike. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. This is my life. I can sneeze. Building structure and organization versus community new systems. Cool. Yes. So with my Chiron in the 11th house, Lilith, Moon, and Leo. Let's keep track of Lilith, Moon, and Leo. I think I remember seeing your chart, Kat. I think you also have Chiron in Leo. I don't remember, but Lilith, Moon, and Chiron are not too different. They're not too different. Also, like the big thing with Chiron is like looking at who is succeeding in that area of your life and realizing and coming to complete grips with the fact that you're not that different. That's like where the Chiron resistance comes in. Is like the Chiron resistance is like it's so hard for me. I'm struggling. I have a chip on my shoulder in this area of my life, and accepting that it's probably not that hard. There's a hero's journey that we get to go on with this, right? Like just for me, I have a Chiron, Chiron and Virgo in the 11th house, 10th house, the house of career, right? I've always felt like everyone else just like has career so easy. They're like, oh, career just feels so easy. Like they get their jobs and they just stay at their jobs and like it. Like that was bonkers to me. But then realizing that like I get to create my own job, I get to kind of warp time. Like I get to bend the matrix and make my job bend to me. And that shit works. Exactly what we are covering in the Empowered Paycheck. And this is like if you want more hands-on attention as like kind of like guinea pig the signature program that I'm working on, the Empowered Paycheck is the place to be. It is my beta group program, 6 weeks coaching from where you are right now, awareness to new job, new paycheck, in alignment. We're going to talk about resume, job interview. We're going to talk about all the witchy stuff. We're going to talk about business strategy. Nothing in there is not going to be relevant. It's all going to be super, 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 super powerful. Three-year wheel of rotation. Yeah, mine has been like 3 months sometimes. And what I say to that is like, you get to pivot. You get to period the end. Like why do we not get to just like experiment? Why can't we be slutty with our jobs? Like let's experiment. And then of course I'm not delulu. I mean I am a little delulu, but I'm not super delulu in that I understand the concept of money. I understand that bills need to be paid. I get it. I and that has always been the most stressful, pervasive conversation that I've had in my own head. And that's where like a strong money mindset comes in. In the Empowered Paycheck, we're going to rewire your money mindset. But with my background in hypnosis, like I know hypnosis really fucking works. It's also embodiment tools, right? Like it's about getting your body on board. Because what is fear? Fear is my interviewer asked me why I had such little time, all these jobs on my resume. Hello, have you worked out there? Yeah. And having a strong answer to those, because that's my resume too. It's all over the place. And it's knowing how to guide the conversation and knowing how to position your resume so that it looks like a strength. Like, oh my God, I have so much experience. I'm so well rounded. And where your attention goes and where your insecurity goes does show up. It does energetically show up on the other side. What was I saying? What questions do you guys have? Thank you for the likes. You guys are being so sweet. I told her I'm not on a lease and it's just living situation. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's ways that you can answer the question to be in your own power, but you have to feel in your own power. Like you have to feel it first before going into a job interview. I say this as I'm literally holding a crystal to my chest. Like you have to feel your own power because once you're in the job interview process, like it's an energetic conversation. Oh yeah, money mindset. Like it's not lost on me that like money is a real thing and it has always been for me. Like for I've been in the risk for like losing my apartment and not paying rent. Like I have been in all those like super dire situations. But when you like force not force when you're in a state of the job market is going to bend to meet me because I completely understand my value. And I am, see, the thing is that you have to be connected to your joy of working. Because if you don't actually want to work and you're burnt out, you don't want to do it, that shows up through your job interviews. That shows up through your resume. Like that shows up energetically. So you have to be attached to the joy of working. You have to feel the joy of working. You have to love working. Also, the first person who signs up for the Empowered Paycheck is going to get a 30-minute free call with me. Who's going to be that person? If like the first person the first thing you do when you sign up is you're going to email me your resume and your Myers-Briggs. And then we're going to do a 30-minute call. So that's for the first person who signs up only. I thought it was a better answer than individual issues of those specific jobs. Okay, so I was talking about money mindset. I just feel like when you come from an energy of like the universe meets me, opportunities show up. You change who you are. Like that's the thing. It's like it's not about the job, it's about who you become on the way to the job. Because a huge thing about your dream job is that most people don't go after it because they don't believe that they can become the person who, like, that job is just like a no-brainer. Like putting the dream job on a pedestal is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt you, but it's like getting yourself to the point of like collapsing that timeline and being the person. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. So when it comes to your intuition, it's envisioning those two paths. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I sign up? Do I not sign up? Right? Do I go for it? Do I stay where I am? Do I open door A or door B? And allow your intuition to guide you. And sometimes I only say two to keep it simple, but sometimes when we go down those two paths, a third option rolls up. You ask your intuition, is there a third option? Because a lot of times there is. And when you decide energetically, like, okay, I decide I'm going to quit. Okay, I decide I'm going to enroll in this program. Okay, I decide I'm going to hire this consultant. I decide that I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to show up to this job interview. I'm going to accept this job. The first step to do, even if you like can't physically do it right now, or there's still some fear or resistance around it, is I envision a big ball of light and imagine that ball of light going down that path first. And that light has an energetic cord to you. So that way you're literally 1111. That way you are literally imagining yourself going through it first. Like imagine yourself, like, investments are a great example. Imagine yourself clicking the button. Just visualize. Imagine yourself putting your information in, card information in, and imagine yourself doing it. What feelings come up? Can you be in that feeling? Can you breathe in that feeling? And then choose a new belief after you're done feeling your feelings. It's the same thing with job interviews. It's the same thing with applying for like, ooh, like a spicy job. Like, I cannot believe that I just submit my application for this opportunity, for this job. Can you envision yourself doing it first? Can you feel the feelings? So, okay, let's do this together right now. All right, get yourself to a nice, quiet, neutral place. See two, maybe three paths in front of you. One is stay where you are. One is take the plunge. Ask the universe to show you what it would look like to stay where you are. Pay attention to what feelings are coming up. You are my third option right now. Now ask the universe to show you taking the plunge. What doors will open? What feelings do you have? Who will you meet? What will you learn? What opportunities will come up for you? Now, if there's a third option, ask the universe. Great marketing strategy. I mean, it's just true. It's just true. I did this activity this morning with my spiritual mentor on like how to tap into your intuition. Also, you can literally use this strategy for choosing a job that you want, getting accepted to a job that you want, deciding which job you want, deciding which, like what thing to do, right? Because it's like that's all that life is decisions, right? And when people say like, "Oh, my intuition guided me here," I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And I just want everyone to know how to access their intuition. And now go through the third option. What is the third option? Ask the universe. Ask the universe. What does a third option look like? Because there are creative solutions. There's always a creative solution to something. And a lot of times taking the reason why the whole plan is not laid out for you, like you applied for a job, am I qualified for this job? That's not the point. Because you will become the person on the way. Because the way that the universe works is that it gives you a little bit of like slack at a time, because you have to become the person. The way that it all worked out is not the version of you right now, the version of you right now could have figured it out. Does that make sense? What does it mean to not have a sense of options or to not have intuitive feedback? I think that we all have, are you saying that you're not hearing your intuition? Because I think that we all have intuition. I think that, to be completely honest, I think that right now, like if right now you're not like seeing what I'm seeing, or like, if it's not working for you right now, I'm gonna be completely honest and say like this is a TikTok live, and like you might be distracted, and I might be like it's not like you might need to get to a more quiet, grounded place to hear your intuition. How do I know it's intuition? Mm. How do I know it's intuition? That's a good question. Let me give you like a good answer for this. Intuition comes effortless. It doesn't sound like anyone else's voice in your life. It comes from being in a position where you can be outside of your own biases. So something that I'll do when I'm like really distracted is I'll get in my head and I'll be like, okay, I'm in my head. I kindly ask everyone else in my head to get the fuck out. And I'll like literally envision like my mom's voice walking out, my husband's voice walking out. And I'll be like, okay, everybody be quiet. And I'll visualize my intuition looking like a place that I want to be, like a room, a coffee shop, a beach, and it's just me alone. And then from there, I ask myself the question. And a good question really matters here. It's a voice from your heart. Yeah. A lot of times I've heard people say it's like a thought that you wouldn't have thought. Like I actually had someone comment on one of my videos saying that she had a thought the other day that said like God loves you. And she was like, that doesn't make sense. That's not a thought that I've ever had. Like I don't think like that. And for me, it's always like an effortless thought that is not from my own perspective. So when I ask myself, like yesterday I was actually trying to make a decision about an investment. Oh my god, someone just signed up for Noelle. Noelle, welcome to the Empowered Paycheck. Noelle, are you on here? Sorry, who's Noelle? Okay. I'm like tearing up. That's so exciting. Sorry. Welcome, Noelle. You pulled over to sign up. That's so sweet. Okay. Noelle, I'm gonna email you when this live is over. I'm like crying. That's so sweet. Okay. Um I'm so happy, Noelle. I just feel like there's a movement happening here, and that's like really really validates like my own intuition and like my own path and like the shit that the universe has put me through. And all the it just feels really good that like we're in this together, Noelle. I'm headed to babysit. Yeah, no, please, no rush on my end, but like I'm just saying I'm really excited. This is going to be really good. Okay. Intuition is always going to sound like the craziest shit you've ever heard. And that's when people ask for signs. They're like, okay, so here's a great example. My intuition told me the other day So a lot of my friends are going to Mexico on this business retreat. They're literally going in like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, I can't go. My passport's expired. Like, have fun, y'all. Obviously, FOMO, jealous. Like, I would love to go, but my passport's expired. Also, I have a 2-year-old. Also, like, it just doesn't seem like it's in my budget right now. Like, it just feels like a crazy thing to do. And I just was like, okay, no, like, I'm not going to do it. And then I took a shower. And in my shower, I have lots of plants and crystals. And like, my shower is like my thinking place because, like, when I'm outside of my shower, like, I'm touched out. My toddler, like, like, is all over me. Like, my dogs are like, it's just like so overstimulating outside. So sometimes I get in the shower and I'm just like, do you have any messages for me? Like, I'll ask my intuition, like, do you have any messages for me? And um I and my intuition said, are we really not going to go to Mexico? And I was like, yeah, no, we're not really going to go to Mexico. And it was like, are you not even going to try? And I'm like, it's in 2 weeks. My passport is expired. And like, the standard, like, passport process is like 10 weeks at least. Like, people have stories of like getting their passports back in like 6 months. See, this is the delusion part. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so in this moment, I could either like squash that down and be like, we're not going to Mexico, like, shut up. And then my intuition would kind of just be like, okay, fine. Like, if you're not going to listen to me, then great. But knowing this exact same thing happened to me in 2018. This has happened so many times, but this is just a great example. In 2018, my friend messaged me and she said, I'm going to New York City to this yoga teacher training. And I was like, my intuition immediately says, girl, you need to get on that bus and go with her. And I was like, New York City? Like, it was for this yoga teacher training thing that I was like, it was for, okay, so I'm a yoga teacher, and she was going to an advanced yoga teacher training. And I had just gotten my yoga teacher training, like, I think I had just finished it. And she was going to an advanced yoga teacher training. And she said she was going. And my first thought was like, good for you. Like, you've been a yoga teacher for like 5 years. And I was like, good for you. But my intuition said, you need to get on that bus and go with her. And I was like, ugh. But I was in a place where I was in flow and I was very receptive to the messages and I was scared. So I got a ticket, I got a ticket to the training, bought a Greyhound ticket, and said, me too. And she was like, amazing. And I was kind of like half expecting her to be like, you are going to an advanced yoga teacher training in New York City. But she was like, amazing, great. And I was like, okay, all right. At that training, guys, like, I met 3 women who were my future clients in my freelance writing. Like, I was a freelance writer at the time. 3 of the women there were my future clients because the thing about like when I was there, I was in like receptive energy, and that receptive energy is just so attractive. Like, the universe finds you. What was I saying? Oh yeah. And that I met the founder of this one particular yoga teaching method who invited me to come to her headquarters and film workout videos, and I got paid to do that. And I got like a free hotel in Scottsdale, and it was amazing. It was like I got a break. And I keep thinking, like, what, like, that opened up so many points for me in my career. I like, the founder shared one of my stories on Instagram, and I got a lot of followers from that. So like, that was like a lot of my clientele when I was starting to teach yoga and starting my own freelance writing business. It was game changing. And sometimes I think, like, what would have happened if I didn't listen to my intuition in that specific moment and gone to New York City, something that felt so unrelated to anything that I've ever done. And like, to be vulnerable and honest, like with my intuition saying about Mexico, like, I like, I haven't bought a ticket to Mexico because I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I have an appointment to get my passport renewed in DC, which is 2 hours from me, next week, and we'll see what happens. But it just still feels kind of crazy to me. But I'm still going with it. Like, I'm still kind of keeping tabs on that and being like Mexico just seems kind of illogical because it's like you're paying all this money for like a vacation when you could just like, it's like I have a million reasons why I think Mexico is like crazy. Like, my 2-year-old, I have a toddler. He's like not fully weaned yet. Like, I still nurse him and he can't sleep without nursing. So I'm like, I'm gonna be leaving my husband with him. It just feels really, really crazy. But my intuition speaks, and I'm paying attention. It also told me to sign up for this program. How many of you have listened to the podcast episode with me and Emily Flood, the founder of Fitness Witchcraft? She has this program called the Warrior Goddess Transformation Program. And my intuition keeps telling me to sign up for it. And I'm like, that's insanity. That's literally insanity. That's why I'm here. Yeah, I think most of you guys, yeah. Most of you guys, yeah. Most of you guys know about that one because that TikTok kind of blew up. But if you haven't, like, no pressure. Like, you know, you don't have to do it. Yeah, right? It's insanity. Like, I'm not going to say that it's too expensive because I don't like the word expensive. Expensive sounds like when someone says, like, oh, that's too hard. I'm like, what does it mean? I just came across you. Hi. Welcome. So I just did a podcast interview with Emily Flood, and she's a genius, and she's like a former weight bodybuilder, right? And I used to be like a hot yoga teacher, really into fitness, all that kind of stuff. And then I had my baby. My intuition told me, this is where I might trigger some people, but my intuition told me to have childbirth outside of a hospital. So I had my baby in the birth center because my intuition told me to. And of course, all the fears came up, and I was like, what if this and what if that? And like, so I had to invest in like research on safety. So I didn't even have my TikTok open and heard your voice. Wait, what? You heard my voice without TikTok? That's crazy. The universe really said, Pamela, listen, listen to this. And it worked out really, really well. I mean, okay, so like my intuition told me to have my baby in a birth center. And I was like, okay, that sounds scary, but I'm hearing you. I'm going to hear you. That sounds scary, but I'm going to hear you. So in order to help myself feel more safe, I took action to like not just be like, okay, I'm going to do it and then like jump in. I also invested in like childbirth classes and prenatal yoga and a doula to support me because it's like you can support yourself. It's not like you just need to walk off a cliff, right? It's like listening to your intuition and doing what you need to do in order to feel safe, doing what you need to do in order to make that work. It's like what your intuition wants you to do, because your intuition is spiritual and you're the one with the physical body. You're the one who needs to take the classes. You're the one who needs to show up to the job interview. You're the one who needs to physically get up and walk out. If your intuition is telling you to quit your job, your intuition can't quit your job for you. Have you ever thought about making an ASMR video? Actually, kind of. Why do you ask? Because I know that I want to like make different types of content to kind of get my message across. I needed to hear this. I am so glad, Kamala. I'm so glad. Go for it. We'll think about it. How's this? I thought about just like doing ASMR as I'm talking about these things because I like making talking videos. I don't want to do like aesthetic videos or like anything like that. Like I've tried different types of content, but I just like to talk. I thought about letting him go alone and like I died inside. Yeah, actually, like your intuition when it comes to two different paths, the like path that doesn't feel good is literally going to be the one that's like, ugh. Like, okay, so currently my husband and I share a house with his sister. I don't want to go back and I have to. Yeah, my husband and I currently share a house with his sister and our best friend. And a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are married and you have a baby. Why don't you just have your own house? Because the thought of me and my husband and our baby living alone with just us three felt, ugh, it felt like, ugh, I don't want to, like, it didn't spark joy. But the thought of like starting this kind of like commune, like this collab with two other adults who we love, just definitely felt lighter. That's how if it feels lighter in your body, then you have more energy for it. So that's also like me becoming self-employed was like, of course I have fears. Of course I'm afraid of, not paying the bills. Of course I'm afraid of, my son needs to get surgery pretty soon. My dog also needs to get surgery pretty soon. And of course I'm worried about all those things. But I feel more energy teaching this than I did at my 9-to-5 job. I have more energy for that. I don't know if that was a question, but I hope that answered your question. But like that's something that's been like a theme of my life, is like the universe is just going to keep giving you rope. And you gotta be there. You gotta be there for it. It's all about what do you have more energy for? What makes you say, ooh, I'm gonna do that? Because then you'll be in more problem solving mode. It's all about getting yourself out of survival brain energy. Because when you're in survival brain, problems just keep happening. It's like magical. That's how it was when I had my baby, but I also didn't have anyone else. With these two other friends. Yeah. I have to go back to the job I don't like. Yeah. Also keep in mind that your current reality is just a picture. My spiritual mentor, he calls them pictures. It's just a picture. It's not your present reality. It's the same thing with like your bank account. Like you look at your bank account, you look at your life and you're like, okay, it's a picture. It's a snapshot of a present moment. It's malleable. It can change. Like first things first, if you look at your bank account and you don't like it, you look at your job and you don't like it, it can change. So when I'm applying for jobs, I need to only apply to the ones I'm inspired to. I mean, kinda. Not play the numbers game. Yeah. I mean, kinda. Yeah. Because inspired, only you can answer that. Like, what does it mean to be inspired by your job? But, okay, sorry, I got distracted. When you're playing the numbers game, are you applying to a job that you don't really want? Because like what would happen when you apply for a job, ask yourself what would happen if I actually got that job? Would I like my life, or am I just really looking for a sense of gratification that I'm chosen? Sometimes I've caught myself applying for jobs that I don't actually want. I just think they're going to accept me, and I'm not really taking a bit of a bold risk. Like applying for jobs that you're not qualified for is really good advice, because you need to take a bit of a bold risk and apply for a job that you actually want, that's going to give to you in the same way that you're going to give to it. Apply to jobs that you're actually inspired for. And it doesn't actually mean that like, because here's the thing about jobs is that you could apply for a job that on paper looks boring or doesn't like make sense or doesn't pay like the best pay, as long as like you can do it. Like I actually made a video about this yesterday. Like sometimes when you apply for a job that just makes you seem like happy to think about, like I worked in an animal hospital. I've worked I've worked with animals and I've worked with kids. If it feels like, sometimes on paper it's like not the most glamorous job, or you're like, this seems kind of doesn't make sense, but going there and knowing that you're just going to have more energy and you're going to have more happiness is, I think, in the best in alignment. It's like the job that's in alignment. What about the jobs that are opposites? Opposites in what? What do you mean by opposites? Jobs that are opposites. Ones that look perfect on paper and turn out terrible. Yeah, those are bait and switches, and unfortunately, lots of people will do that. And I think leading with a different energy and interviewing with more discernment and not applying for jobs in the energy of desperation, even if you are desperate, like not holding the vibration of like sovereignty. Oh my gosh. Okay. So when you're in a job, I have been bait and switched many times before. And sometimes the job that you get is not the job that like carries the course. Like my corporate job. The person who hired me ended up getting fired within a few months. And it was like I had a new manager. And my current supervisor got switched to a different supervisor. My desk right next to the river, I got moved to somewhere with like under fluorescent lighting. Like things change. And it's just really about making sure that you don't come from a place of desperation and like taking the first thing and being discerning. And even if you have like a negative bank account balance, even if you're like, I need this job, if you show that in your interview, if you show that on your face, if you show that in your body language, if you show that in your energy, like they're gonna pick up on it. It's like you just also have to believe that you have the potential to warp your reality. Like, hang on, I have to write something down. Okay, before I forget. You have the power to warp your reality. You have the power to sign up for it. Like, there is a mindset of like, we just have to take what we get. And that energy is so tempting, but it's not true. You can have way more discernment over who gets to be in your energy. And it all comes down to like, that's why I love talking about like Aphrodite and deities and witchcraft, because it's all about reprogramming your mind and your energy to believe that. Like, it's all about reprogramming your belief system to match the job that you actually want, because we don't apply for jobs that we don't think we're worthy of. I'm so spot on. Thank you. We don't apply for jobs that we don't think we're worthy of, because it's scary. Like, what if we actually get the job? Oh my God, then what are we going to do? And it's funny because I kind of had a little bit of that with my most recent job. I kind of like stretched myself a little bit in the job I applied for. And my boss tried to gaslight me every step of the way. She really wanted to undermine my self-belief. And it's like your confidence can be triggering to some people. And that's when I say be strong in conviction on your self-worth. Yep. Pick the job aligned for you, and it might surprise you. That's all I'm saying. Like, use the manifestation process in the job field and hold your conviction. Hold the line. Like, I'm not saying you need to be like a jerk in the job interview process. In fact, the opposite. Read the job interviewer. These are really good questions. What was I thinking? I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. My last boss. She really tried to make me feel like I was the problem. But as long as you keep giving the power of the business back to the employer, like, it's not your job to, unless you're the CEO, it's not your job to make the business run. Your job is to do your job. And my last boss literally accused me of holding the business back multiple times. And I'm like, girl, I'm not the CEO. I'm passing you back your power. That's your power. That's not mine. And if your business is headed for bankruptcy, that's your problem, not mine. And if I had internalized that and been like, oh my God, you're right, I suck, I'm holding your business back, I would never have had the confidence to do what I'm doing now. And so I think number one is like deconditioning any stories and beliefs that your current employer is telling you about your worth, because it's just not true. And that carries on into the next job interview when people are like, oh, why are you leaving your current job? You can't have in your energy field anything resembling the idea of like, because I suck. If your business is headed for bankruptcy, that's your problem. Yep. And the only reason I know that her business is headed for bankruptcy is because I did the math. She didn't say it because her ego was way too big. She would have never said that. She was the one who was always on Instagram saying how she had such a pretty bank account. But I did the math. I'm letting my dog out. My dog is crazy. I'm smart and I did the math, and she wanted to tell a story that she was like super fucking rich, and she literally said, I have a pretty bank account. Maybe because you have Gucci doesn't mean you have a pretty bank account. And the thing for me is like, if I have a boss who owns Gucci, she was a CEO, by the way, so it's not like she was just like some higher up. If you're wearing Gucci and the back end of your business is a hot mess and there's no training, I don't trust you, because I truly don't think there's anything wrong with designer products. It's just, to me, when you're flaunting your external front end wealth, but your back end of your business is a mess, then you have poor priorities. And I'm not going to follow you. And that's why I walked out, because I was like, I literally don't want to follow you. Like, you're going to burn my career into the ground because you're a bad leader. And yeah, I had to pull my son out of daycare. He went to a really good daycare, and I had to pull him out. But that's because I came first. I literally had to put my foot down, and I've been there too. Yeah, it's hard. I've literally had to take my son out of this really good daycare, and I mean, there was lots of reasons I could have stayed there, but the contingency, the like thing that held it all together, like, what's the glue that held my life together in that moment, was this belief that my boss was a good boss. Hey, can I get a follow? Who are you? Tell me who you are. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Do I want to follow you? Is there something I can learn from you? I'd love to connect. Who are you? Tell me who you are. I don't know who you are. And that's the other thing, is like, job interview energy is, if you come in with like, hey, can I get a job? They're like, get in line. But if you come in from like leader energy and you're like, I have something you want, because you do. First of all, labor, time, energy. I think it's even like if you come in from a job interview and you're like, hey, can I get a job? And they're like, sure, what do you have? And it's like, I have energy. I have creative problem solving skills. I have good communication. Like, that's enough. You don't have to like have a PhD, because otherwise you would be applying for jobs that required a PhD, right? Unless you do have a PhD. But coming from like knowing your value, like what do you provide? My dog. I'm gonna get my dog. Coming from the energy of like, I know what I have and it's going to be so valuable to you. Like, okay, think about it for a second. What does your future employer value? From the energy of like, I know what I have and it's going to be so valuable to you. Like, okay, think about it for a second. What does your future employer value? Anybody? Do they want dependability? They want someone who's creative, flexible, good team player, someone who follows through on what they're going to do, who says what they're going to do. And now what do you want from them? Money, reliancy, reliance. Like, they want you to be dependable. Do you want them to be dependable too? Like, how's that conversation going to go? Where you're reading them and you're trying to pick up on subtle cues on whether or not this is a stable, happy place to work. How can you ask them, is this a stable, happy place to work? Without like overtly asking them that. You can ask, one question that I have asked in job interviews is, who is on the team and how would you describe them? Because I had a job interview once where I kind of subconsciously sensed that there was this one girl on the team that the hiring manager did not like. And she didn't say it, but she was like, she literally said to me at one point, she was like, if I gave you this task, how would you handle that? And then I answered the question. And then she said, oh, so you're actually smart. Oh, so you're actually smart. And I was like, I'm actually smart. Who on your team is not smart? Is there someone on your team that you think is a dummy? Because I want to know that. Because I want to know if you're a good leader. Because if you think someone on your team is a dummy, then it sounds like you're not a very good leader. So I asked her, she actually dodged the question. And in retrospect, I did pick up on that red flag, but I kind of wish that I had like circled back on it. But my dog is shedding. I asked her, like, who is on your team and how would you describe them? Because one thing that I also kind of suspected is that starting a new job reads what I really want to do, pay is good. Why don't you really want to do it? That's a really interesting question. Why don't you really want to do it? What about it is something you don't want to do? And follow up question, not to bombard you. This is not an interrogation, but what are you going to do with that money? Because the thing is, like, that's the thing about numbers that I've learned as an entrepreneur and like a salary negotiator is when you know in your energy what you're going to do with that money and you can say it with your chest, then it's just so much more like it's like it puts you in the energy of I know what I'm doing and I deserve this money. And you don't have to like say like anything crazy, but you just have to know what are you going to do with that money? Because there was a time when I worked my corporate job and I got paid a lot for more than what anyone else was going to pay me for that. I at one point was like, what am I even doing with this money? Like, this money would blow someone else's mind. Like, this money would help somebody else who's trying to get out of like an abusive relationship or, is saving up for something big. For me, I was spending most of that money on childcare. And I was like, you know what? I'm spending so much money on childcare when I could just be at home with my son. I don't need to tolerate this abuse. And what I wish I had done when I applied for that job is to be more certain on like what the money would be doing. What are you going to do with that money? It's a tutoring job for elementary schoolers. Cool. And had a mental breakdown. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So tutoring sounds like, yeah, tutoring sounds like a different part of your brain than being a preschool teacher. Had a mental breakdown. Yeah, it sounds hard. So I'm nervous to get back into a school. Is it that you're nervous or is it that you don't want it? Like you said, you don't want to do it. Is it that you're nervous? Because nervous can be something that you grow into. A great job is a job that you grow into, right? Okay. I have to go soon. But the empowered paycheck, guys. Like, this is it. Like, this is like high touch, low cost, because this is a beta round for the actual signature program that I'm building. But I want to get some guinea pigs. I mean, you're going to get a lot of value out of this. If you're an action taker, like, you're going to, yeah, assessing values. Yep. If you're an action taker, you will get the results from this methodology. I've gotten results. A lot of my clients have gotten results. But I'm building a signature group coaching program. So I want to kind of like feel it out, get some results, get some testimonials, which means I'm very invested in your success. Maybe it's more nerves. I would use the money for rent. I'm not cutting it into my savings. So I'm not cutting into my savings anymore. Yeah, I mean, getting out of the feeling of survival is a huge worthwhile investment. I guess I have some time. Amy Skinner. That's my sister's name. You're not my sister, are you? Someone named Amy Skinner just joined. And I was like, oh my God, it's my sister. It could be. But Amy Skinner is a pretty common name. So she's not answering my texts. But maybe she'll get on my TikTok live. I don't know. Yeah, like a great job is a job that you grow into, because the jobs that we want to quit in like 3 months are the jobs that we are like, okay, I did it. Now what? That's for me. Like, my husband and I were just actually talking about this. Is like jobs that have no sense of completion or a sense of like accomplishment. Like, he's a high school teacher, so at the end of the year or on Fridays, he has a sense of like, I did it, and you get to celebrate. But jobs that just feel like cyclical and hamster wheely are not fun. It's like you have to give yourself that. That's why I have a tattoo of a pink bottle of champagne, to remind myself always to celebrate myself and to close off cycles. Can y'all hear the music? I like to have my music playing. I have um I have a very beautiful music playing over here. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Okay. Anyway, any questions? You guys are still here. You guys are so cute. What questions do you guys have about the job search? About using your intuition in your job search? Hello. Yeah, the change. I think getting scared of the change is like checking in with yourself and asking yourself, is this in alignment with your desires? Is this in alignment with something that you actually want? Is this in alignment with your goals? Or is it kind of distracting? Is it just like shiny object syndrome? And taking action is the number one way to gain clarity at all. So you taking action and even considering if you want this job is going to be like is going to be the best way to learn about yourself. I'm definitely the kind of person who like needs to know the worst case scenario of taking a decision. Some people are not like that. Sometimes people are like, I'm going to take this job. I'm going to rise to the top. I'm going to succeed. Boom, 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 boom. Like, amazing. Somebody follows job postings online. Okay. Yes. Um, Google the company. Number one, if you're not certain, Google the company. Um, TikTok just said, you've gone live for 90 minutes. Don't forget to take a break. Okay. Well, that's sweet. Thank you. I don't think I've ever gone live for this long. 90 minutes? Okay. So, what was I saying? Okay. Google the company. I actually almost fell. Okay. Okay. This is actually a really good question. Okay. I almost fell prey to the scam that I keep seeing people on TikTok saying that they're falling through, which is like a work from home job. Text interviews? No. We don't text interviews. We Zoom or in person interviews. If they're like, Well, just email me the answer to a couple of these things, even if they are like on the go and they're busy and in different time zones. Absolutely not. If they send you a check, absolutely not. There's actually a couple of like things of, if there's a couple of phrasings. First of all, if the grammar is bad in a job posting, nay, never. I'm sorry. Like, it's just never. If the grammar and the like punctuation is bad, if it seems like they wrote it in 5 seconds, no, because they're not showing the upfront respect to you that they expect from you. And it might be a scam, and it might be like that person doesn't even like. There was a time where I applied to work as a job as a waitress at like a Italian place, and the interview was like, come by with your resume, and I'm like, not with that effort. Like, the Craigslist posting literally said, come by with your resume at this time. Like, Miss Girl, like, you need to put a little bit of effort in first. It's like, think about like the things you have energy for is that the universe gives you a little bit of slack and you choose to pull, right? The best way to have slack is for someone to give you energy first. It's like a give and exchange. An email about a job I didn't apply for. Yeah, no. There was actually one job that I kind of thought was a scam, but it ended up being a job at Goldman Sachs. And the reason why it seemed kind of scammy was because they were trying to keep it low profile because they wanted, I don't remember, like, make it look like they're growing. Yeah. 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 Okay. So avoiding a job that's a scam. Never, ever, ever cash a check. Like, period. If they're asking you to cash a check, no. It's a scam. Like, we're going to send you a check from your work from home equipment. No, you can send me the work from home equipment yourself. The scam one, I didn't realize this until I was like applying for a job. And if it seems a little too good to be true, either they're desperate, which is kind of a red flag. It's like sometimes that can work out, but sometimes it's kind of a red flag. If you're desperate to help, you're probably going to be taken advantage of. If they seem desperate, they probably are. Or it's a scam. They sent me a check and they're like, use this to buy your work from home equipment. And I Googled, like, is this a scam? And the answer is yes. What they do is that you cash the check and then your bank marks it as fraudulent. I can't remember exactly what happens, but it's like, I keep seeing people on TikTok saying that they're falling for these scams. And that's what happens when we're so desperate. Like, we fall for these scams and then the bank marks it as fraudulent. And I can't remember what they do, but basically never cash a check that an employer sends you. And also, like, I need the hiring manager to act like they give a fuck. I need it. If they delegate it up to a recruiter or a supervisor, that's okay. If they won't get on a Zoom call with you, no. I actually worked for a pretty big influencer, not anybody on TikTok. Nobody knows who the fuck she is on TikTok. She's kind of old school, but a pretty big influencer. And the red flags throughout the onboarding process was that nobody knew what was going on and she acted like she didn't give a fuck. And I internalized that as like, oh, she's busy and she needs help. Duh. But do you think that she's going to be like present when answering your questions? No. Is it going to feel like, do you think that anybody knows what's going on? And there's definitely a give and take here, right? Like, sometimes the person who's hiring you is busy and stressed, and that's why they're hiring you, right? They need your help. But check in with your savior complex and be like, I just want to save them. I'm going to tolerate this low treatment that doesn't feel good to me because I want to save them, right? Check in with that. And sometimes you can take a job and feel it out and remember that you are never like, I think this is true for every state in the US at least, but like, Virginia is an at-will employment state. Like, and I think that's true for every state. Unless you signed a contract, which I don't think anybody here has. The only person I know who has signed a contract is my dad because he worked in the military. So military jobs, like, sometimes you do sign a contract. Also, my phone is like gonna die any minute now. I have to charge my phone. Okay. How do you read your interviewer? Oof, my phone was at 1%. I just plugged it in. How do you read your interviewer? It's a good question. Like, how would I answer that? It's like definitely kind of a stretchy question because How would I answer that now on a TikTok live without knowing more details? How would I read? How do you read the interviewer? I recommend that. Okay, so the interview is actually going to, like, probably most of the time be from a place of not wanting you to read them. Like interviewers usually have a very flat affect, or like they're deadpan. Like, flat affect is a psychological term for like they're not going to be all bubbly, or they might. I think it's about a feeling you get. It's a feeling you get and you're paying attention. And the best advice I can have for a job interview is to remain calm and remember what you want. So it's like overthinking little things like body language or whatever. I think that might send you into like overthinking mode when it's really like a gut thing. And making sure that you ask specific questions about the company, ask about your day-to-day, ask about the team, and be like I think of me standing up for myself. Like, what questions would my mom ask? Not like literally my mom, but like someone who is protective of me and loves me. What questions would they ask? Like when you're going for a sleepover and your mom is like asking the other parent, like, what would you do in case of an emergency? How many adults are in the house? What's the child to adult ratio, right? Like, what questions would you ask there? So having that in mind, read the interviewer. I think acting like you're reading, if you're like acting like you're reading the interviewer, that does come across as like acting like you're reading the interviewer can come across as like you're trying to read them, and then that's like sketchy. And the thing is that you don't want to give the interviewer any reason to act like you're not interested. The thing about job interviews is that if you act like you are interested, they will remember you. Feels wounded masculine insecurity vibes. What does? If you're reading, yeah. You don't want to act like you're reading, but listening to your feelings. And it's about doing a check-in before and after your interview. Like, check in with yourself, right? Be warm and remember that you want this job. Because if you didn't actually want this job, then why would you be there? You know what I mean? Like, why would you actually be there? So don't go to an interview for a job that you don't actually want, unless you want to practice detachment. That's something that I've done. It's like, I've gotten a job, I've like practiced like the sense of detachment and good question asking on a job that I didn't actually want, because I felt more neutral about it. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Advocate for yourself. And my first pinned video, I talk about doing Kundalini breath before a job interview, because it gets your intuition and your logic brain like on the same page, and it gets you relaxed. So doing Kundalini breath, doing breath work before a job interview is a great way to be in a neutral place. Sometimes I've done yoga before making a huge decision, before like making a pitch, before applying for a job. I'll do yoga because it gets me grounded. But you don't have to do yoga to get grounded, but whatever makes you feel grounded. And that is something that we are covering in the Empowered Paycheck, which is my beta group coaching program. If you want to be a guinea pig and get a new job for a third of the price, I'm doing a lot of like betas right now because I'm putting out new offers. So right now is like a pretty low pay price to work with me, because all of my offerings, once the beta round is done, I'm tripling the price, because I have my beta round. I know what I'm doing. Okay, first of all, I'm not crying. You're crying. No one's crying. You're funny. What questions do you guys have? In the Powered Paycheck, I'm only taking like, I really want to focus on like different groups of people. So I'm only taking like a few moms, a few self-employed girlies, a few corporate girlies, a few girls who work in restaurants. Like I want to kind of diversify the population so that I know that this works for every industry. And it's like the best way to get one-on-one attention from me in like a group environment. I feel really excited about this. Cool. If nobody has any questions. No questions? Okay. I might hop off then. Yeah? Does anybody have any questions? Hello. I find that like the best way that I have always gotten every job I've ever gotten has been through my intuition. And of course I take the aligned action. Like you actually have to like show up to the job and get the interview and all that stuff. But using your intuition is just like blows other people out of the water. Okay. I'm gonna go. But the doors to the Empowered Paycheck close soon. Love you guys.